Welcome al podcast de Palante Nonprofits. I'm your host, Andrea Ortega, y estoy super excited to dive into the world of nonprofits. In Spanglish. En cada episodio exploraremos temas como leadership, fundraising, compliance, utilizar tecnología para el cambio y mucho más. We are changemakers y estamos aquí para inspirar, educar and empower a las comunidades hispanas en todo el mundo. Let's navigate the sector juntos. Palante Nonprofits.
Probably now 10 years. I don't want to tell you how old I am, but I met her my freshman year of college, and she was a little, she's slightly older, not that much older, but she was graduating UF, and I was starting my journey at the University of Florida. Y Angelica, I tell people, I don't know if I've told you this, Angelica, but when people know I speak very like how I am. So when people tell me like, oh, how you know Angelica? I'm like, well, Angelica trained me and took the Miami out of me. And I say that because, I was like 18, 19 years old from Miami, pero like whatever, like I was a good student, but I probably didn't handle myself the way I should. And going from the transition of a volunteer or being this really awesome, charismatic person to a leader is it's a change, right? You have to, Angelica is the person that taught me that you have to represent something bigger than yourself, no matter how bad those situations are. And I can go into details about a very specific situation that happened that first year, but just so everybody knows, she was instrumental in my journey in the nonprofit sector. Aside from the 4 trainings I received, Angelica, who was the founder of Children Beyond Our Borders, also just gave me a nonprofit. And so if you ever listen to any past stories, and I always say like, y me dieron una nonprofit, and all of a sudden I had to build, it was her. She's the reason I'm here. She's the reason that my journey began. And I'm so happy to have you here. I think I probably talked to you in 2 other podcasts. And when people, siempre throughout my career journey, when they talk about how I ended up in the nonprofit sector, Angelica, you're a huge reason of why I'm here, why I found this, and why. Y creo que tú y yo have very similar, that we went to UF being pre-med and we were going to be doctors, and then the huge disappointment in our parents when we said, no, we're gonna continue with nonprofit work. And so I think that's something that we connected very early on, but and we've reconnected recently with being our last job where we both worked, we got to work together, but I think that helped us kind of reconnect and finding ourselves running a consulting. So Angelica is the principal consultant and owner of Yellow Collective Consulting. Ella es colombiana. I'm speaking too much English, but hopefully we get some Spanish in here para nuestros listeners. And she's a leader. She's someone that empowers people to think innovatively. She's extremely kind. I think that I can be kind, but I'm like funny kind. She's just very kind and presents herself with that generosity. Like, I don't really consider myself, like, I'm a generous person, but I'm very like tough love kind of person. She's just genuinely kind in the way that she approaches things. And I'm really, really excited because even right now, as we speak, a lot of the things I'm struggling with this administration is the lack of caridad and generosity that exists. I think this country is going through a very scarcity mindset. If I'm struggling, you should have to too. Y la verdad es que there is enough room for everybody in this country. We don't have a problem of scarcity. We have abundancy, and we need to share it. And that includes with the word caridad, right? So it means kind of charity and generosity are really important in the nonprofit sector. It's how they started, right? It's how it started. It's like the foundation of like, and I know, Angelica, that you'll relate, and I'm about to let you talk, that like we went in debt running Children Beyond Our Borders.
Well, yes,
I don't know about you, but I remember like, and it was after my time at Children Beyond Our Borders that I realized, oh my God, that was a full-time job. Why didn't I get paid like a full-time person with a lot of experience? And instead it was like, oh, new person to help, new family, new child. Here's my credit card. Here's my thing. Because there was no, and I think so much about charity, about that foundation. And I even with my consulting, as soon as I feel abundance, I do share it and I give services or I directly donate to the nonprofits I work with. But like, we got to pay our bills too, and we have to fill our cup and then continue that charity, that kind of like generosidad with others. But like, we got to change our mindset. It's not a scarcity, it's there's abundance and we just have to find it. And so please introduce yourself, tell me why you're here, and tell me a little bit more about Yellow Consulting.
Oh, Andrea, gracias. Gracias. I was just holding everything, all the tears. Thank you so much for that sweet introduction. I would say from the moment I met you, from the first day, I said, this woman is going to go so far. And I am the lucky one. I am the blessed that I got to meet you, that I got the opportunity to just watch you and witness the woman that you were meant to be and that you continue to be. And so, gracias a vos. A mí nada que ver. Vos sos la inspiración y la razón por la cual he estado aquí y he hecho lo que he hecho. Así que gracias a ti. A little bit about me. Yes, like you said, I've been in the nonprofit sector for many years. I wanted to become a doctor because I thought that was the best way to help. And then when I moved to the United States, I was just 13. And Andrea, I was always very impacted by a lot of different values that growing up in Medellin, right, it was hard to see it because there was a lot of, during the 1990s, late 80s, that's when I was there in Colombia, and so in Medellin specifically, right? And then I grew up seeing a lot of violence, a lot of bad things happening. And that many times made us move from a place of the survival of the fittest, not from a place of generosity, but from a place of who is going to make it? Who is going to survive? Who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to know? And then when I moved to the United States, again, as a teenager, that contrast of, I don't have to worry about surviving anymore. Now it's about thriving. And what does thriving mean? And where will that lead me? Right? And so all that to say, it is this desire to thrive, and not only to thrive, but to see others thrive that led me into the creation of the first organization, which was Children Beyond Our Borders. From there, I moved into creating something called Exploring Minds, which it was all about helping children learn the design thinking process and how we can be innovators. Not just a few can innovate, not just the wealthy can innovate. All of us can innovate, right? And then here I am with my third venture, Yellow Collective, that is all about empowering nonprofits to really move to that place of seeing their mission go into full fruition. And the number one way, there's multiple ways to do it, but if I was to say the three ways that I feel that nonprofits can really flourish is through innovation, is through a lot of moving people to be generous. And then the third one is to really embrace who they are in a way that is authentic. I don't think that if we get stuck to, we need to speak their language or the ways other people want us to communicate versus, hey, this is who we are. This is who we truly are, our authenticity. I think that's when we're going to truly thrive. So that's where Yellow Collective comes to help with those areas.
Thank you so much. And para todos los que sepan, Children Beyond Our Borders trabaja en Colombia todavía, and they're still alive. And I think one of the biggest things, and I think we both have gone through founder syndrome as well. But really, once you've been in your organization long enough, for me, it's that it still stands. It's still operating. And that's the kind of legacy that if you're a nonprofit founder, or if you work with one and a founder, or you're working with a nonprofit founder now, like, you want to try to leave a legacy. The organization should exist after your time. And so invite you all to check out also Children Beyond Our Borders. They do amazing work in the Gainesville community. They do have a chapter at Orlando. But I think for us, like, to say, yeah, it's still operating with an amazing executive director. I love Maria Eugenia. She's a teacher, and she's absolutely has done a phenomenal job of this organization. And like, it was you, it was me, it was now Maria Eugenia, and it's still alive. I think that means we've done something right, And Angelica, okay, kind of getting deep into the questions. Hablaste algo de la diferencia de generosidad y caridad. Can you explain that to me? Like, what's the difference, and how do you also, like, tying it back, like, how do you apply it when you work with your clients?
Yes. So when we think about charity and generosity, if we were to define it, right, I feel like many times both of them share the same kind of definition, right, which is to give to others. And we can give in multiple different ways. Giving is not just a matter of giving through money. Giving is given through time, talents, testimonies. There's so many different ways to give, right? And actually, there's a stat that says that many people, when we define philanthropy or giving, we define that the number one way to give is through our time, right? We value time a lot. With that said, now that we know that when it comes to generosity and when it comes to charity, the common denominator is the giving of things for the sake of helping others, right? One of the contrasts that I have noticed and identified between charity and generosity is that sometimes charity becomes a word that leads into a transaction, leads into I'm giving you something and you give me something back, right? Generosity, not always. It doesn't always convert into a transaction. It becomes more of a place where we're both kind of equals. We are given to each other. I give you what I have and you give me what you have, right? We receive more. That would be one of the main differentiators. One of the things that I would love for people to be challenged and to really see generosity. Yes, there's a lot of research that tell us that generosity leads to healthier people, happier people, and greater civilizations, right? But I do think that we need to work on making generosity a habit. Not just something that we do once or twice or 3 times a year, but something that just like we brush our teeth, hopefully every single day, that we see generosity as an opportunity to every single day to give something. Again, our time, our talents, our treasures, whatever it is that we have been gifted to be able to provide to others. I am a big proponent of making sure que lo vamos a dar sin estar esperando siempre algo a cambio, que vamos a ser generosos sabiendo que vamos a poder transformar vidas, no solamente las de otras personas, pero también las de nosotros mismos, ¿cierto? Y cuando dejamos de estar pensando en dar de una manera que es una transacción, nuevamente la palabra caridad desafortunadamente ha perdido mucho su valor, sobre todo en nuestros países latinoamericanos, porque lo vemos más como lo mencioné anteriormente, como una transacción en la cual hay una jerarquía, en la cual los ricos son los que dan y esos son los únicos, ¿cierto? Pero hay que cambiar esa mentalidad y ver que eso no es los orígenes de la generosidad y no es el punto donde tenemos que terminar en una transacción, sino en una oportunidad de seguir dando.
Me encanta. Y no sé si ya tienes un tagline for Yellow Consumptive, pero bringing generosity back to the nonprofit sector is a great one. O sea, Angelica, o sea, like, first of all, yo creo que philanthropy as a whole is very transactional. We know because our previous employer, like, tried to monetize off that. And the truth is that funders, big institutions need to give to organizations doing the work on the ground without expecting something in return. And sometimes, I'm not saying nonprofits shouldn't be held accountable, porque yo creo que esa es una de las razones why these applications are so long, why they expect people who don't take a salary to write these big reports, and para mí, the whole infrastructure is flipped, right? Nonprofit leaders deserve to pay their bills. They deserve to, so that they can do their mission correctly. But that also comes from, it's not a transaction. I'm not giving you $1 million to get something in return. I'm giving you $1 million to empower the work you're already doing.
Yeah.
If you don't have the infrastructure, let me help you, like, rather than saying no or you're not ready, like, building their capacity. And I don't really like the word capacity building porque eso hay veces la gente piensa que es fundraising, que eso, but like, tú sabes, every nonprofit nos llama, I need more funds, I need more money. And after some questions, I'm like, you don't even have a board. You can't even afford me. Like you honestly can't. Like your board has to be invested in the changes you're going to make when hiring me. You're going to hire me. It's a waste of time if I'm just working with you y tú no puedes ejecutar las cosas that we're going to put together. And, like just kind of going back, like the funder is, I think, a little bit responsible for the capacity building. Porque estas personas, these people doing groundwork, they're doing it. It started from the bottom of their heart. They don't teach business nonprofit strategies in high school. Most of us learn either by an experience that shaped us. Yo sé que para ti, para mí, when I got into the nonprofit sector, para mí específicamente, y he hablado mucho en el podcast, es yo tenía un gran hueco in my heart that I still do from when I left Colombia. Colombia is such a big part of who I am. Like, I can't even tell you, like, I love this country and I'm grateful for the opportunities que he tenido con Estados Unidos, pero nada reemplaza mi comida, mi familia, mi calor humano. Like, when I don't go every year, like, my heart, like, I suffer. Like, when people tell me, like, what are ways that you heal or take time off, I'm like, I plan a trip to Colombia. Like, that's just what it is for me. And I've been to other countries and I love to travel, pero like, I at least need my yearly trip to Colombia to, like, tell that little girl, Andrea, that, like, she's doing everything she can to make this country better. And yo creo que going back to kind of generosidad, like, we have to give without wanting something in return.
Yes.
Like, and that's such a huge shift that needs to happen in philanthropy, especially now. You and I are on LinkedIn a lot. It's become this little hub for nonprofit leaders to communicate and big funders to be. And every day I hear of somebody tell these funders to move money. There's like trillions of dollars sitting in foundations, and I'm like, and we're like asking, move the money to the organizations that need it. And that's gonna take a little bit of generosidad from their part, honestly.
Total.
Yeah.
Yo pienso que algo que tenemos que hacer como non-profits, cuando estamos hablando de generosidad, ¿cierto? Es asegurarnos de que estamos haciendo lo máximo para crear conexiones, ¿verdad? That is fundamental, right? There is a really cool woman, Dr. Elizabeth Dunn, I believe is her name. She talks about how we are happier when we give, right? But she puts a big emphasis on, however, not only do we get happier when we're generous, what we need to make sure that we do is that we get connected to the work that we do, that we support, that we care about, that we donate, right? Because when we just make a donation, many times we miss the big point of why we're doing what we're doing. So, nonprofits, here's one of your first call to actions. Make sure that you create opportunities for connection. Make sure that you create opportunities for people to see the work that you're doing and why it matters, right? Because if we just spend too much time and energy figuring out how can our website become better at collecting funding, please let me tell you another big stat. Only 12% of giving comes from online giving. Only 12%. That should tell us something. Nos debería estar diciendo, Dios mío, ¿qué estoy haciendo? Estoy haciendo las reuniones que se tienen que hacer, las conexiones que se tienen que hacer, las oportunidades para poder engage with community. Lo estás haciendo. Si no, gasta más tiempo ahí y luego nos metemos un poquito más en la página, porque ahí es donde están pasando las cosas, ahí es donde se están dando los dineros, ahí es donde se están viendo el impacto. And we need to really be very strategic on connection.
Me encanta. Going back to a little bit of the questions, and I think, I want to make sure we can ask one more and then let you finish. Pero hay una, we talked a lot about the questions we had in mind, pero hay una que I want you to kind of hit the nail on the head. Y es, como tú trabajas con leaders y a lo mejor, like, share with our listeners ejemplos de cómo tú You make this a part of the strategy, because we're not just saying give money without a strategy, right? Or take money without a strategy. Porque también pasa that I ask people all the time, okay, I'll give you $100,000 right now. Could you execute? Do you
Yeah.
have the people in place to go? Because that's honestly, yo le digo, like, they'll be like, oh no, I wouldn't even know where to start. I don't have job descriptions. I don't actually know how many mentors or teachers I need to hire. Like, that's what, you still have to prepare and be strategic. So how do you work with leaders to get them to get there while maintaining, like being strategic, but understanding that, they're going to need to kind of tailor to both the charity part and the generosity part?
Yes. Great question. Thank you, Andrea. I think that one of the first steps to make sure that we do that is to really do a big assessment of the organization. Understand very well, number one, is our mission really still the mission that we're trying to pursue? Like, just starting there. Like, many times working with the nonprofit leaders, and then we revise, we do an assessment, and the first thing is like, oh God, that's not what we do anymore. Now we tackle this, which is completely fine, right? But taking the time to revise what you're going for, what you're shooting for, is the number one thing. Once we define very well what is it that we're doing, I love to get into a time machine. I always tell everyone, let's get into a time machine where we go 10 years from now and we say, if our mission becomes true, what is happening 10 years from now? And I love giving leaders that vision of, hey, in 10 years from now, if our mission is fully flourishing and really happening, this is what is going to happen. And after that, then we move into, all right, now that we know our mission, now we know our vision for the future, what are the steps that we're going to take, right? I always like to implement within strategies that we create for organizations, which is the broad picture of what we want to achieve. A goal metric system. My favorite goal metric system is OKRs, objectives and key results. That allows organizations to stay aligned, to stay focused, to be guided into the steps that we have to take. Once the foundation is really set, right, the rest is going to be very, not easy. I'm going to steer away from saying easy, but it will have a better flow, right? Money will be better directed. Like you said previously, Andrea, muchas veces estamos recogiendo fondos y a veces estamos pendientes solamente de eso sin ver exactamente el impacto de nuestros programas, cómo los estamos evaluando, están funcionando o no, cómo se puede integrar más innovación para asegurarnos de que tengamos en cuenta las voces de las personas que se están beneficiando de nuestros programas, ¿cierto? Entonces hay muchas oportunidades. Nuevamente, el primer paso, y es el primer paso que utilizamos en el diseño del pensamiento, que en inglés es el Design Thinking Process, es evaluar lo que está pasando, ya sea por entrevistas, ya sea por asesorarse bien de lo que está pasando en la organización, integrar mejor la misión y la visión entre todas las estrategias que estás utilizando, y luego de ahí, cuando eso ya está listo, moverse en esa parte de hacer una estrategia simplemente para lo que es la recaudación de fondos. Normalmente empezamos con una estrategia que nos asesora y nos dice y nos indica que todo está bien con nuestra organización, y luego de ahí nos movemos entre esa parte que, nuevamente, yo creo que me parece súper lindo lo que es recoger fondos. Yo sé que mucha gente se siente a veces intimidada con el qué es preguntar y and the rejection, porque not every ask is going to come with a yes, right? Most of the times it might come with a no, but we will secure and we will get better probabilities of a yes once we have a strong foundation for the work that our nonprofits do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that foundation, and I don't know if I fully finished my thought last time, but that foundation is from our board, from our impact, from messaging, like you said. Like, I give this example to one of my, Beyonce. I gave this example. Beyonce has Baygood Foundation, and I was like, if Baygood reached out to you and gave you $100,000 for, to build houses, would you take it? And she was like, of course, it's money. And I was like, you're a tutoring program. And and it's like, You're a tutoring program. Do you know how much work you're putting yourself in by saying I'm going to build houses just because I got the money? Like, absolutely not. You tutor after school programs at a school.
Yes.
Your answer is no. Let me direct you to a partner. And then maybe that partner will put you in their grant as the tutoring of the housing that they're going to build around. I don't know. Like, but no, the answer is no.
Yes.
And that foundation comes from knowing your mission. Make sure it's still aligned with the work you do, like making sure your board gives and you have all the, and then, I agree. Online giving has increased over the years, but building those relationships are super important. Like, have you gone to a Chamber of Commerce event? Have you told people, like these little things are, and then OKR. Okay, great. You want to attend at least 3 networking events a year. That could be one of your key results in your overall objective to raise more funds. So, like, I love that you strategize, and soy una persona también that, like, you have to put it in paper. That way you can envision it and go through that exercise. And nowadays, like, you can use ChatGPT. Write me 3 OKRs. These are the 3 things I want to accomplish in a year, and, like, see what you can commit to and build a foundation before you ask for more money. And yeah, always try to come from a place from generosity too. If you're not a nonprofit founder, but you give and you're listening, give without expecting anything in return. Angelica, we're kind of at the end of our conversation. Y ha sido un placer estar contigo. Si hay algo que le quieres decir a nuestros listeners, please do so, and please tell us how we can find more about Yellow Collective Consulting. You're good.
Something that I would love to tell our listeners, your listeners, connection. We are human beings created to connect. Connection is essential. When we hide ourselves and when we get into a place where we feel like there's not answers for anything, seek connection. When you feel like you're not getting enough funding for the programs that you are doing, which are so worth sponsoring, seek connection. When you feel like you don't have the answers to all the questions of the problems that you're trying to address, seek connections. It all starts there. And so don't be shy. Give it a try. I love when you said, go into the Chamber of Commerce, go into affinity groups, go into your churches, whatever it is, seek that connection first. Because once you have that connection, either to the work that you're doing, to future donors, to the beneficiaries that you serve, to the population that you're working with, connection will give you the answers. So I think that would be my most important advice.
Me encanta. And where can we find you? Or is there an email or something, or we can reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely. You can find me on LinkedIn, Angelica Suarez. That would be one of the best ways. And very soon you will be learning even more about the work that Yellow Collective does. And so thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Muchas gracias, Angelica. It's always a pleasure. And to everybody listening, gracias por este otro episodio de Palante Nonprofits. I'll talk to you all later.